Welcome to NTD Evening News. Our top story tonight, a deadly plane crash in Central Asia. What we know so far about the Azerbaijan Airlines flight that went down in Kazakhstan. Russia launches attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure on Christmas Day, with explosions reported across the country. Soldiers are away from families as civilians hide amid air raid alerts. Arian Pastor has the war update. Displaced Christians celebrated Christmas in the Gaza Strip despite the ongoing conflict, joining Christians in other parts of the Middle East in celebration. Jason Perry reports. President Biden signed 50 bills into law on Christmas Eve, including one that makes the bald eagle the official bird of the United States. And President-elect Trump has promised to reform FISA courts, a federal court that reviews and approves applications for surveillance of foreign intelligence. Our legal correspondent Arlene Riches explores why Trump made this one of his goals and how he might do so.
This is NTD Evening News. Live from our global headquarters in New York City, here's Tiffany Meyer.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Iris Tao in for Tiffany Meyer. We're starting tonight with a tragedy in Central Asia and a warning some viewers might find the following footage disturbing. An Azerbaijan Airlines flight with 67 people on board crashed in Kazakhstan earlier today. A Kazakh official has confirmed the deaths of 38 people. 29 passengers have been rescued, but the exact figure has been changing as emergency personnel respond. Azerbaijan authorities said they're investigating why the plane tried to make an emergency landing, but currently it's too early to speak about the results. Azerbaijan's president said the weather had forced the plane to change from its planned course. Russian President Vladimir Putin offered his condolences today and sent medical personnel to the site of the crash. Here's more details about the crash.
An eyewitness video shows the moment a passenger plane crashes in Kazakhstan on Wednesday, with many feared dead. Kazakh authorities said 62 passengers and 5 crew were on board the plane, which was operated by Azerbaijan Airlines. At least 32 people were rescued, they said, and survivors, including 2 children, were being treated at a nearby hospital. The plane had flown hundreds of miles off its scheduled route to crash on the opposite shore of the Caspian Sea, close to the city of Aktau, Kazakhstan. Russia's aviation watchdog said a bird strike may have forced the pilot to land. Officials did not immediately explain why it had crossed the sea, but the crash came shortly after drone strikes hit southern Russia. Drone activity has shut airports in the area in the past, and at least one airport there was closed on Wednesday morning. Azerbaijan Airlines said the Embraer 190 jet was flying from Baku to Grozny, the capital of the Chechnya region in southern Russia. Ramzan Kadyrov, the Kremlin-backed leader of Chechnya, said in a statement some of those being treated in hospital were in a serious condition. Authorities in Kazakhstan said a government commission had been set up to investigate the cause of the crash.
And now to the Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine reported a major Russian attack on its energy infrastructure on Christmas Day, a targeted power grid across the country. The country's largest energy provider says this is the 13th time this year that Russia has carried out a major attack on Ukraine's power grid. Ukraine's national police said at least 1 person died in the eastern region, while 6 others were injured in another region. 500,000 households have been left without heating in the Kharkiv region in near freezing temperatures. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky called the attack inhumane and claimed that Russia deliberately chose Christmas for an attack. And despite it being Christmas today, fighting on the front lines continues in Ukraine. For the soldiers, it's yet another year away from family, and some residents in the nation's capital spend Christmas hiding in the metro amid air raid alerts. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pastor has an update on Ukraine.
Fighting continues at the front lines in Ukraine on Christmas Day. A Christmas tree installed at the command post is the only reminder of the holiday season for Ukrainian soldiers in Kharkiv.
It's an ordinary day for me. What to celebrate when the war is going on? You can celebrate when you are with your wife and children with your family.
My third Christmas in the armed forces of Ukraine. I would love to celebrate it at home, but unfortunately, it is what it is.
Meanwhile, in Kyiv, residents had to hide in metro stations during raid alerts on Christmas Day. A woman says she's not surprised the attacks don't stop during the holidays.
We always expect so-called wishes from our neighbor.
And despite the sirens, some people in Kyiv still go to church to attend Christmas Mass.
This holiday is not about joy, but about being united. I thought that it is good that we have a reason today to ignore the sirens, even though we cannot fully dismiss them.
And in Rome, Pope Francis is calling for talks between Ukraine and Russia in his Christmas message.
May the sound of arms be silenced in war-torn Ukraine. May there be the boldness needed to open the door to negotiation.
Earlier this year, Ukrainian officials criticized Francis. This came after he said the country should negotiate an end to the war with Russia. President Volodymyr Zelensky has ruled out engaging in peace talks with the possibility of losing parts of Ukraine, but he's been showing a willingness to work with President-elect Trump in negotiations. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
Displaced Christians celebrated Christmas at a church in the war-torn Gaza Strip, joining Christians in other parts of the Middle East observing the holiday this year. NTD's Jason Perry covers it.
Residents in the Gaza Strip celebrated Christmas despite the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas terrorists. According to the Hamas-run government, approximately 1,200 Christians live in the Gaza Strip.
Though we are living a hard situation with the war, we hope this new year, which marks a new birth for Jesus, can bring with it goodness and prospect.
We arrived here for our religious obligation, so peace will be here for us. I hope the war will end, and we will live back in peace.
Meanwhile, family members of hostages still held in the Gaza Strip made their voices heard on Christmas Day.
Unfortunately, we are marking the 446th day of our loved ones having been suffering in Hamas tunnels. This is one of the longest, if not the longest, hostage crisis in the history of the modern Western world.
I call on all decision makers, all leaders of the country and the world, and everyone who has taken the responsibility on themselves to do everything, and I mean everything, to bring back everyone alive.
Meanwhile, Christians in Iraq, in Baghdad and Mosul, attended church and celebrated Christmas as well.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. Glory to God in the highest, peace on earth, and goodwill to all people. May the birth of Jesus bring joy and peace to the whole world.
My message is one of love and peace, the message that Jesus Christ brought, which is the foundation of our calling. It is written about Jesus Christ that he is the Prince of Peace.
Christians in Iraq have suffered persecution over the last decade from extremist groups such as ISIS, but they still continue to celebrate the holiday. Jason Perry, NTD News.
President Biden had a very busy Christmas Eve. He passed 50 new laws, including one designating the bald eagle as the national bird. The law says the bald eagle has symbolized American independence, strength, and freedom since it was adopted as the coat of arms for the United States Great Seal on June 20th, 1782. Congress celebrated the bird's recovery from near extinction through the efforts of many. The population of bald eagles in the lower 48 states has quadrupled since 2009 and was estimated at more than 316,000 in 2020. Other laws included designating buildings in honor of deceased government officials and a proposal pushed by celebrity socialite Paris Hilton that will hold centers and facilities serving youth accountable. President-elect Trump says he's going to reform FISA courts. He's taken issue with them ever since he said the FBI spied on his 2016 campaign. Our legal correspondent Arlene Riches reviews what he aims to change.
President-elect Trump has a laundry list of goals to bring down what he calls the deep state. Here's goal number 3.
We will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications. So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to.
FISA, or Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, generally permits U.S. intelligence agencies to spy on foreigners while they are outside of the U.S. In 2016 and 2017, 4 different FISA court judges signed off on warrant applications submitted by FBI officials. Those warrants gave the FBI permission to spy on President-elect Trump's 2016 campaign and his advisors. The last 2 applications falsely accused Trump aide Carter Page of being a Russian agent, linking him to Russian officials who were said to be interfering in the election on Trump's behalf. In 2019, an Inspector General report found that there were at least 17 significant errors or omissions in the Carter Page FISA applications. At that time, Inspector General David Horowitz expressed his concerns at a congressional hearing.
Particularly, the FBI's failure to adhere to its own standards of accuracy and completeness when filing applications with the applications for Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act Authority, known as FISA, to surveil Carter Page, a U.S. person who was connected to the Trump for President campaign.
The FISA court publicly criticized the FBI for mishandling the information and ordered them to explain. Since then, Trump has repeatedly called for reform. How will he do it? In April, Trump successfully convinced House Republicans to block a bill that would reauthorize Section 702 of FISA, which allows agencies to spy on foreigners located overseas. The warrants against Page were obtained under a different section of FISA, Title I, which allows surveillance of Americans acting as foreign agents. But reports revealed that FBI analysts were abusing Section 702 by obtaining phone data on Americans. Republicans pushed for amendments that would require a warrant. But President Biden extended Section 702 for 2 more years. Trump has another idea. He nominated Kash Patel as the next director of the FBI. The FBI also spied on Patel. In an interview on the Sean Ryan Show in September, Patel called for major reform.
But once you get a FISA, and I use this all the time to manhunt terrorists around the world, once you get a FISA, you basically just hoover in all this intel, all this data. And on paper and in theory, it sounds like a good idea. I mean, the problem is the people given the FISA authorities in the deep state at the leadership levels, they're the ones that abused it.
Patel supports using the data to fight against terrorism, but he has a plan for stopping the abuse.
You go to D.C. and you remove all these positions, right? And you start enacting measures, not of retribution, but of legal consequence.
Patel might start with the officials who collected data from his phone records and emails. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Before lawmakers left Capitol Hill, we caught up with some of them to hear what their family traditions are for the holidays. Here's what they said.
Well, in Miami, we celebrate a little bit differently. I'm Cuban descent, and so we actually have roast pig, and all the family comes, about 40, 50 people come to my house, and it's a great time. The house is decorated. It's my wife's favorite time of the year, unfortunately, because she makes me decorate everything and put up all the lights, but look, I'm happy with it.
So celebrating the birth of Christ as a Christian, there's nothing bigger. We're having a Mountain Dew fountain and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I'll be walking around with my charcuterie board, which is me, Ritz crackers, and a Cheese Whiz.
Well, it's a family vacation, so we'll be sticking close to home. One of my nieces always hosts it. We've passed that generation down to them, and we're expecting a great celebration of the birth of Jesus, one of the greatest moments in the history of mankind.
Well, I mean, I think in this holiday season, it's so important to look out for one another and take care of one another. I'm looking forward to spending time with my family, and you never know how long you'll have your family. So I think it's really important to be grateful for what it is that we have.
It is absolutely going to be a great Christmas because Donald Trump, Republicans are in control. House, Senate, good stuff's coming. Gas prices will be falling. That'll impact the entire economy. Spending is going to be cut. It's a great day for America and a great Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody back home. God bless.
Christmas is my third favorite holiday. So spiritually, my favorite holiday is Easter, right? Without the resurrection, everything's a lie. I believe in the resurrection. But for family-wise, it's Thanksgiving, because that's when you get together. I'm a little fatter than I should be. You know why? Because I like eating with my friends and family, and then Christmas, obviously.
Look, we just get together. We're a big family. I've got 13 grandchildren, and we try to get as many together as possible.
I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy New Year. May you spend quality time with your family and friends. May you enjoy peace and a great New Year. Feliz Navidad.
And coming up, 2024 was a rough year for the housing market. Will 2025 be any better? An expert breaks down what to expect next year. Beware of fake websites. Scammers ramp them up during the holidays to catch inattentive customers. NTD speaks with an expert about a fake site he saw just this week after the break. And 2024 was a rough year for the housing market. Buyers were met with high prices, sluggish sales, and high interest rates. In today's Consumer Watch, we have details on what buyers can expect next year.
The housing market has had a tough year, but if you're looking to buy a home in 2025, experts predict there's some good news.
It's going to be a better year for home buyers.
Lawrence Yoon with the National Association of Realtors says more homes are expected to come onto the market, giving buyers more options.
So more choices, more inventory, that will lead to boosts in home sales.
The other good news, mortgage rates are expected to come down. As of last week, the average rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage was 6.72%, according to Freddie Mac. But Yoon predicts those rates to come down closer to 6%, which can make a big difference for your wallet.
Even a half a percentage point change in mortgage rate could mean about $150 savings in monthly mortgage costs.
Here's the bad news. Home prices aren't expected to come down anytime soon. In fact, they're expected to rise. The NAR predicting the median existing home sale price to be $410,700 in 2025. But Yoon recommends buyers should still negotiate on the price and shop around for the best mortgage rate.
Look for the mortgage lender who offers the best rates, and even consider adjustable rate mortgage.
And if you are in the market to buy a home, Yoon suggests not taking on large debt like a car loan before you're approved for a home loan.
This holiday season, beware of fake websites. Scammers are getting smarter and more sophisticated at tricking consumers. Here's the story.
Beware of fake websites.
We have this one company who sells replacement parts for fitness equipment. The scammers went and stole their logo, put it on a site that sells they don't sell anything, actually. It's just a fake site.
Business coach Phil Masiello has a client called Fitness Parts Warehouse, which was the victim of a fake website scam. The scammers copied its site, hoping inattentive shoppers would spend their money there.
A customer sent them an email and said, I bought this product. The customer got mad, sent them a screenshot of what they bought and their checkout page and their completed order, and said here, and they said, well, that's not our site.
Masiello says scammers can copy a website in around 2 minutes and start selling fake products there. In this case, the oblivious customer gave the scammers $36. Fake websites also trick you into giving personal information, such as usernames, passwords, and credit card numbers. Some sites give viruses. To identify them, first, look at the URL. A fake URL may seem legitimate at first glance, but a closer inspection may reveal flaws. For example, apple.com could be spelled with an uppercase I instead of a lowercase l. A useful tool is whois.domaintools.com. Go here to search the URL and get information about the website, such as how old it is. Young sites are more likely to be fake. Masiello says shoppers also just have to be attentive.
This guy is buying a GE range temperature limiter. Why would you buy that on Fitness Parts Warehouse? So it's obviously a scam.
Masiello says these scams ramp up during the holidays when people are shopping. The scammers think people aren't attentive and many aren't.
A remarkable story of legacy and transformation in American agriculture. For generations, White Oak Pastures in Bluffton, Georgia has been a beacon of rural life, and today is a model for the regenerative farming movement. NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with cattleman Will Harris, leader of this family farm, to learn more about its unique journey.
Will Harris is a fourth-generation cattleman working the same land his great-grandfather settled in 1866. Born and raised at White Oak Pastures, he initially adopted industrial farming practices when he returned from the University of Georgia in 1976.
I was a very linear monocultural cattle guy, and I used all the industrial tools to make that business more profitable, and it was profitable for us.
But Harris felt that something was missing, realizing that his grandfather and great-grandfather had run the farm in a way that, although now labeled as regenerative, seemed timeless.
It was multi-species, vertically integrated. They raised a lot of different species of livestock. They processed them on the farm. They sold it to the local community. Very, very cyclical, very regenerative.
After World War II, however, farming in the U.S. took a turn. Harris's father, who took over the farm in 1946, mirrored the nationwide shift toward monoculture cattle farming.
Under his watch, it became a monoculture of cattle, and he was successful with it. And it was where the agriculture went during that era. That was the option he had.
In the mid-90s, Harris decided to revive White Oak's original approach.
We're multi-species, we're vertically integrated, we process animals on the farm, a USDA-inspected processing plant. And we have a restaurant and lodging, and it's very vertically integrated.
The Harris family's efforts to promote animal welfare have also been central to the farm's evolution, allowing animals to express their natural behaviors.
Cattle are meant to roam and graze, so we allow them to do that. Chickens are meant to scratch and peck. Hogs are meant to root and wallow. This farm that I'm on now is 3,200 acres. We've got another 2,000 acres that we graze that are not part of this farm, but this farm is 3,200 acres. It's divided up into 150-something paddocks, and we move animals every day.
This shift has had a ripple effect beyond the farm itself. They went from a few minimum wage employees to 170 today, now the largest private employer in the county. The influx of money and people helped revitalize the local community in Bluffton.
And I needed lodging for them, and they needed a place to shop and eat and drink and play. So we started buying houses and lots and storefronts.
Today, White Oak Pastures is not only a fully operational farm, but also a destination for agrotourism. Harris has pioneered regenerative practices that have enriched the soil to what he calls incredible levels, boosted biodiversity, and helped create a sustainable local economy. With a focus on the future, he credits his success to figures like Alan Savory of Zimbabwe, a global advocate for regenerative farming.
And he really was one of the first people to figure out the ills of industrial farming and the benefits of regenerative farming.
White Oak Pastures exemplifies how one family's commitment to sustainable agriculture can also support a community and inspire future generations. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And coming up, in the NFL is the Chiefs versus the Steelers, with a possible home field advantage on the line. Dave Martin joins us to discuss. In Magic the Gathering, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance's favorite card game growing up. We'll look at his favorite card, plus how the game works. That and more when we return. And now for your sports news, we're joined by NTD's Dave Martin. Dave, a lot to cover today, but let's start with the NFL. The Chiefs beat the Steelers this afternoon 29-10. What was your takeaway from the game?
You know, for one thing, this was not another close call by the Chiefs. You know, a 19-point victory, that's actually their biggest margin of victory this season. So they haven't really been as, dominant as that 15-1 record really looks like. But as usual, their defense was dominant, I'll say that. Only 10 points allowed, got 2 big turnovers. One was an interception right in the end zone. That cost the Steelers at least 3 points right there. Then early in the fourth, just after the Chiefs scored a touchdown to put them up 12, the Steelers fumbled it away at their own 35. 4 players later, the Chiefs were back in the end zone again. Suddenly, the game was really out of reach at that point. So for Pittsburgh now, they need Baltimore to lose today because those two are tied for the division lead. Right now, that second game, you've got the Ravens up 17-2 over the Texans at halftime. So Steelers in danger of pulling a game behind them with just the game left.
And staying in the NFL, Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers said ask Woody when asked about if the owner wants him back at the team next season. What's your thoughts on that?
You know, I don't think it's a stretch to say, owner Woody Johnson has not been pleased with how this season has gone. They had very high expectations with the strong defense they had, combined with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. They needed some good playmakers on offense like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and Devontae Adams. Now, it was really a stacked roster. You would have thought a playoff berth was a given. Instead, they are 4-11, long since eliminated from playoff contention. Johnson already fired the head coach in September. He then fired the general manager a little bit later. There's been speculation Rodgers won't be back next season. I mean, as a Jets fan and a Jets season ticket holder, I'm completely against that. I do not know who they're going to bring in next year that could possibly be better. This roster is still built to win now. Rodgers, by the way, is going to end up with nearly 4,000 yards passing. He's got a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. I think he's actually played well. The team just hasn't for whatever reason. Maybe they bring in a good coach in the offseason. We'll have to see.
And looking at some football TV viewership news, the 2 NFL games last Saturday actually significantly outdrew the competing college football games. What do you think of that? Was that surprising to you?
You know, it didn't surprise me that the NFL got better numbers. It surprised me the margin, though. I mean, nearly double. Let me give you the numbers. SMU versus Penn State averaged 6.5 million viewers on TNT. That compares to the Chiefs-Texans game at the same time on NBC, which averaged 15.5 million. I mean, that's more than double. Now, for one thing, being on cable probably still makes a difference against an over-the-air station like NBC. I don't know how much, though. But also, Penn State blew out SMU 38-10. Meanwhile, the Chiefs had another close win. So that probably makes a difference too, how close the game is. The second part of the afternoon, you had Texas versus Clemson that drew 8.5 million viewers again on TNT. That was pitted against the NFL's Steelers-Ravens game, which got 15.5 million viewers. So nearly a double right there. So both games, significant margins of victory there. I know Ravens-Steelers is a big rivalry. I'm surprised, though, at how much better the NFL did there. Now, for reference, the 2 college football games in the evenings, that was Friday night. You had Indiana, Penn State, drew 13.5 million viewers, and then Ohio State, Tennessee, Saturday night, 14.5 million. So nearly as much as the NFL got against those 2 playoff games. So I guess to sum it all up, the NFL is still king over college football.
And finally, in the NBA, the New York Knicks got their 5th straight win. Do you see them eventually passing the Celtics?
You know, I think they'll be right there come April. I mean, the Celtics are the defending champs, of course. I know it's only December and making these kind of early predictions, but the Knicks moves they made in the offseason, it looks like they're starting to gel, They acquired Karl Anthony Towns, who's maybe the best 3-point shooting big man out there. It did cost them a lot, though, I'll say. Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and some draft picks. But they also acquired Mikal Bridges, a very good 2-way player. He actually leads the league in minutes played, a very good defensive player. Anyway, like I said, they're starting to gel now. There's our 5th straight win. They're now 22-10. But I also want to highlight Victor Wembanyama's performance today. 42 points, 17 rebounds, 4 blocked shots. I mean, they definitely would have traded for Victor Wembanyama had he been available. I don't think he's ever going to be available. The guy is a great one, and we just saw a great performance by him today.
Well, a lot to watch for in the coming days and weeks. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Magic: The Gathering, a game JD Vance played as a teen, is gaining popularity among white-collar professionals and has become Hasbro's first billion-dollar brand. Here's the story.
Magic: The Gathering, a popular card game, is on track to make over $1 billion 3 years in a row. It's Hasbro's first billion-dollar brand and a game Vice President-elect JD Vance played as a teen. In Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, he writes, I could never tell my dad that I played a nerdy collectible card game called Magic because I feared he'd think the cards were satanic. After all, the kids at the church youth group often spoke of magic and its evil influence on young Christians.
He has all sorts of dorky interests.
Vance's wife, Usha Vance, spilling the beans about her husband's passion for the card game on Fox News. The VP-elect said in a recent interview with Semaphore, the big problem with transitioning from being a 13-year-old who likes Magic the Gathering to being a 15-year-old who likes Magic the Gathering is that 15-year-old girls do not like Magic the Gathering. He said he dropped it like a bad habit. The game involves two players battling each other with cards. This official Magic video says the players start with a deck of 60 cards.
Begin by drawing 7 cards, which is known as your hand. Throughout the game, you put down land cards to pay for spells, while also taking turns to attack or block your opponent. The goal is to get their life count down from 20 to 0.
J.D. Vance says his favorite card is called Yawgmoth's Bargain. This card sacrifices a player's life count to let them draw cards much faster. The card shows a skeletal figure in a robe interacting with a creature that looks like a giant mechanical bug. The caption below says he craves only one commodity. Yawgmoth's Bargain has been banned in most game formats for being too powerful. The game is gaining in popularity among white-collar workers who play it instead of poker and chess.
And coming up, mince pies are a Christmas staple in Britain. We'll look at the traditions of the small pastries and how they were once reportedly banned. Festive tunes in the air and tasty dishes for dinner. We hear from folks in DC to find out what their favorite Christmas songs and food are. And Shen Performing Arts is back on stage, captivating the audience in Japan. This as it's set to return to Texas, ringing in the new year. That and more after the break. A tasty pastry with origins that date back centuries. Mince pies are a Christmas staple across the pond in Britain, with Brits eating nearly 1 billion of the small pies every year. But did you know that they were once illegal? NTD's international correspondent Malcolm Hudson brings us more on these much-loved treats.
A tasty treat for festive cheer, delicious mince pies. These are a must-have in British Christmas-time cuisine.
My favourite type of mince pie is like the puff pastry ones. They're like supreme, and like just the inside and the flavour of the mince, and the fact that you only get them once a year is awesome.
They're traditional. I remember them. My grandmother used to make them, and they're not my favourites, but I do like them at Christmas.
It's estimated the average Brit eats 19 mince pies every year. Let's see how many everyone has eaten over the Christmas holidays.
Probably about 25.
Most probably only about one.
About 100.
100?
Yeah.
Well, we usually have about 2 a day during the December, yeah.
Well, usually just after the odd occasion, like, carol service and that.
I'm trying to lose some weight at the moment, so I'm not going to eat any this year. I haven't eaten one yet, but normally I eat about a box.
According to the magazine Good Housekeeping, Britain eats a yearly total of around 800 million mince pies.
Now, mince pies are a festive British and, might I add, delicious treat, filled with fruit and spices and served in small individual portions. But while here in Britain they are strongly associated with Christmas, their history dates back centuries and is tied to conquest and the Crusades. That's right, knights in shining armour were fond of good food too, and brought the Middle Eastern recipe for pies full of fruits, meat, sugar and spices back to Europe.
That's pretty cool. I've never really looked into the history of them. Just take them for granted, you just eat them, and yeah, I've never really looked into it. I have to have a look now.
It makes sense because I was recently in Abu Dhabi, and when I went to reach for a coffee there, they had cloves as an option instead of sugar. So I wondered what the cloves were doing there, so that doesn't surprise me at all.
Originally, they were made of 13 ingredients to represent Jesus and his 12 disciples. But wait, it's not all just happy days of eating pies. Fast forward to the 17th century, when mince pies were made illegal. The Puritan statesman Oliver Cromwell banned them alongside many other Catholic and Christmas traditions.
I don't know how it would have been Christmas without mince pies, to be honest. I love them.
An urban myth claims it's still illegal to eat mince pies on Christmas Day, but luckily the ban did not survive for very long. So Brits don't need to worry about the pie police knocking at their door while tucking into their tasty pastry today. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News.
From old-timey tunes to modern pop hits, what's on your holiday playlist? And what are some of the most palatable dishes on your dinner table? NTD was out at the National Mall in DC to hear from people.
Favorite Christmas song? Oh, All I Want for Christmas by Mariah Carey.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I love that song. The Phoenix version.
The Phoenix version?
Yes.
Not Leonard Cohen?
No, the one with it's the group of them singing, like the guys and girls.
Oh, what's the Paul McCartney one? Wonderful Christmas Time, yeah.
White Christmas, by Bing Crosby.
The Christmas song.
Christmas song.
The Christmas song. Yes,
Nicole, right?
yes.
White Christmas. I just like that movie.
Feliz Navidad. Catchy, it's real catchy, so I just like it for that. All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Frosty Snowman. Reminds me of my childhood. Nostalgia.
Last Christmas by Wham. I just think it's a good song. Like, I'd listen to it if it weren't Christmas time.
The one that's like chestnuts roasting by an open fire. All I want for Christmas is you, baby. We got a little acapella going on here.
The drunk one, the Ballad of New York, or what it's called. It's just funny. And the fact that people so unironically love it when it is about drunkards insulting each other.
And what's good on the dinner table? On the dinner table? In-N-Out. In-N-Out. Always. You know, it's only a West Coast thing, right? I know.
Anything but turkey, I guess.
Oh, I love a big ham.
My mom makes really good Sister Schubert's biscuits. My mom makes the best gumbo in the world.
So the meat fondue and then all the sauces that go with it, all the vegetables, and then a couple shots of Apfelkorn that go with it too.
Where we only have finger foods, such as like mozzarella sticks, the popper things, you know.
So the tradition for my family is turkey and green beans, mashed potatoes, dressing, pumpkin pie. That's the basics.
The Mexican way is we celebrate Christmas at midnight. So if it starts like around 6, everyone starts drinking, eating pozole, tamales, and then we...
Pachucos are good.
Yes.
It's like little ground beef and corn.
An outdoor train display along with vibrant flowers from around the world. This holiday season, the U.S. Botanic Garden is showcasing the beauty of nature with some unique and intricate features. NTD Sam Wong takes us through the exhibit.
Chugging in and out of the tunnels and winding around displays of pollinators made from plant parts.
That's a choo-choo train.
What is a choo-choo train?
Choo-choo.
The outdoor model train display at the U.S. Botanic Garden is a holiday favorite for children and adults alike.
It's our second time. We visited last year when we were here for work as well, but we love trains and we love this exhibit. So beautifully curated.
It's amazing from an art perspective. Weirdly enough, it's a gorgeous day to be out here looking at this because it feels Christmassy.
It's magical here. It's just so magical. I don't know of another train exhibit like this one.
Take a stroll inside the conservatory, you'll find yourself surrounded by some of DC's most eye-catching landmarks, from the Washington Monument to the U.S. Capitol Building to the National Library of Congress, a total of more than 20 pieces of replica, all made out of plant materials. Some of them were blessed with a finishing touch just recently.
Since we've had this National Gallery of Art building on display since 2021, our visitors have been asking, where's the blue rooster on the roof? And so our friends at National Gallery of Art made one for us. We're very excited. It's got blue eucalyptus leaves and a beechwood nut for the mouth, and we're super excited to add that to our holiday show as a new permanent resident on the roof of the National Gallery of Art building.
In addition to the botanical decor, visitors are in for the serenity of what nature has to offer. Plants and fruits across all different climates are in full bloom throughout the garden. In lighting up the holiday cheer are a wide varieties of vibrant poinsettias, including the classic red, white, and yellow, along with some other kinds that are rarely seen.
I wanted to point out one of my other favorites is this one here, and if you'll look, it's got rounded edges on all of the leaves and the bracts. It's called Christmas Mouse, and those are supposed to sort of represent like mouse ears. We've got about 24 different varieties of poinsettias on display this year, and so some, as I said, almost 100 years old. Some are cutting edge and not even on the market for sale yet.
The exhibition was open on Thanksgiving Day, and it'll run until January 5th of next year. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Sam Wong, NTD News.
Shen Performing Arts is set to return to Texas to ring in the new year. This as the company continues to capture the hearts of audience members on its second day performances in Nagoya, Japan. Take a look.
Shen Performing Arts gave the second performance in Nagoya, Japan on December 24th to a packed theater. The show captures the hearts of the attendees with thunderous applause.
Today has been the greatest day. This December 24th, 2024 is truly the most amazing day. The music is great too. It's like a feeling in my stomach from the beginning to the end. I could spend the whole day in a state of emotion.
It was so beautiful. I couldn't blink my eyes. I was so moved. I was so moved that my tears just came out naturally. I'm thoroughly impressed.
The performance was 100 points, a perfect score. No, it was beyond perfect. It was extraordinary, beautiful, and the stage costumes were magnificent. They blended perfectly with the music, and I was truly moved.
What resonates with me is that when any art is performed perfectly, it can touch the audience. It's universal. Even without knowing the language, I can feel so much was conveyed.
Shen, established in New York in 2006, aims to revive 5,000 years of traditional Chinese culture. But its mission goes beyond entertainment. It seeks to revive and share the profound spiritual and artistic heritage of China, which has been largely suppressed in the modern era.
The program included many elements from ancient Chinese culture and provided insights into the country's traditions. It also exposed some of the problems China faces today, which made me think a lot. If I have the chance, I would love to come again next year and in the future. Most people abroad don't know the real China. If people learn bit by bit from the performance, more and more people will understand the real China. That's why it's important to have this type of performance, which has been going for a long time.
Shen Yun's next stop in Japan will be in Kyoto on December 30th. NTD News, Nagoya, Japan.
And that's all for today's news. For round-the-clock coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Iris Howe from all of us here at NTD News. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. Good night.